issues and we put them out there, but we do not have that hard evidence that we can act on. And
all right. No, I think you've made your point. I don't know if there are concerns from the audience of parents that have faced that experience, that you're required to pay a certain amount of money, which is not part of the school fees, or the uniforms, you're sent to a particular shop. Any questions from...
Sam, tuko na mzazi hapa, William Omenyo.
Okay, thank you very much. I want to thank the ministry. You are doing a great job. I'm William Omenyo. I'm a parent, grade 10 parent, and still a grade 9 parent. Now, on issues of uniform, I think parents were allowed to either procure from wherever they want. When I was being admitted, I was allowed to procure from either outside or from the school, though there were some variance in terms of costs. And at times when communication was not there, you would find yourself in school and now you had no option. So probably communication was not right, was not there from the downloaded letters. But that notwithstanding, now what I actually wanted to bring to ask as a parent and a concerned stakeholder in learning is about capacities in senior schools. You know, when CBC started, the other grades were to be domiciled in secondary school. So most of the schools worked towards increasing their capacities in terms of dormitories, in terms of classes. So later it was domiciled in primary schools. Now, during this period of placement, my fear is that some schools had increased their capacities. Most of the schools are boarding schools, so they are C2, C1, and all that. And the number of learners remained the same. So during placements, you'll find that C4 schools and other C3s are not getting learners, and they are concerned because the capacities at those C1 and C2 schools are so high that they fear that they may not get learners. And we already have complaints from other schools that the reporting is very low. So my question would be, what will you do if some schools don't get enough learners to even form a class?
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, we can get an answer to that before we can hear more voices.
Okay. Thank you very much, Sam. Once again, I want to say that as a rejoinder to what the CS has said, we are doing everything possible to ensure that we enforce the policies by the headquarters. And one of the things we are doing, we are building capacity of our quality assurance so that we can be able to, we're actually strengthening quality assurance because quality assurance is a major component of competence-based education. So we are doing everything possible. And just to reinforce the numbers, because you asked a very important question, we have been able to transition 935,000 students out of 1.1 million, translating to 85%, which is a big success. So from where I sit, the transition from junior to senior school is a big success. And the majority of the students have been settled in different parts of the country. Of course, there are still a few whom we are still trying to account for and work with the Ministry of Interior. But overall, it's a big success. There were many doubts at the beginning, but overall, the ministry and all the stakeholders working together, we have been able to achieve a big success on matters transition.
Okay, all right. Let's hear the other parents on what they are saying about their concerns. I'll get to that.
The question that the parent asked that we've not responded to.
And we'll get to that.
Okay.
Let's just hear the parents first.
Nimechota maji tuseme mtungi 6, nimepata kitu kaa 60. Nimelipa mtu wa mkoko, nipaka fenye imebaki nileta nyumbani. Nikununua chakula.
Anashinda akiniambia, "Mama, wacha tu mama. Sasa nimepata 50, nimepea mtu wa mkokoteni 100 yake. Shika inunua mboga." Mimi sina uwezo. Mtoto wangu alitwa shule, sina mamlaka mali nitampeleka. Sina nguvu mali nitamfikishia. Lakini Mungu aliyejua anitetee.
Mimi na feel vibaya, watu wako shule, mimi niko nyumbani. Watu wamereport
Life ya street nimeisikia vizuri sana na siwezi tena jaribu tamani kurudi kwa street. So nilikuwa napenda tu niweze kwenda shuleni na niweze kusoma na niweze kutimiza ndoto yangu ya kuwa daktari.
Niling'ang'ana ili nipate future poa, but sasa mama hajiwezi na kuna sistangu mkubwa hadi ako shule lakini fee hajimlipia. Sasa ndio mimi nataka mnisaidie juu nataka nisome.
Since I received my reactions, my results, like my father, he has been so harsh, telling me that I will not be able to go to school because he has no money for me to go to school. He just wants me to remain outside here. Maybe I remain outside or I go and work somewhere as a housekeeper. Sometimes I get a lot of pain that I cannot be able to join school. I feel a lot of pain. I feel like I'm a loser in life. So the life is very difficult. Even eating is a problem. We're strained to eat. I'm pleading with you to help me, whoever is willing. I promise I will work hard.
Nyewe nilikuwa na mafikirio, lakini sina uwezo chochote. Hata saa zingine anaweza acha shule. Tunaenda tunafanya kazi na yeye, tunatafuta chakula.
Wakati tulikuwa na minister kama yule aliyekuwa mwenda zake Magoa, angeingia mpaka kule kichakani kujua ni shida gani ambayo wazazi wanapitia, ambayo kwa sahi hatuoni.
Kazi yenye nafanya hata hiyo 80,000 nikiangalia hata nikitoka.
All right, so that's a section of parents on what they've been saying. And I know, Waziri, you're saying that there's a pending question. Let me just hear from the PSs here. Dr. Mori, I don't know if you have thoughts about, especially those parents. And it's important to say that after Citizen TV featured those voices, most of them actually got help. But does the government understand the need, especially for learners that may have excelled in KJSEA, but unable to transition to Britain in their schools of choice?
Some, absolutely. The government has a lot of concern for everybody, for every citizen, and especially the youth, who we as a ministry are looking forward into transiting. Yep. That word, 100%. So, but there is a stand that I always hold. Money is never enough. We all have to struggle for resources from time to time and from place to place. But with even this kind of shortages, that does not reflect the space of government in the sense that it would not be concerned. Of course, we are absolutely concerned, both as parents ourselves and as government. And if there is anything within our purview that we can be able to sit down as government and be able to do, we would definitely want to address such issues, because as a government, it is our responsibility at the end of the day.
Dr. Nyangala, so then what do we do? The CS was talking about the many bursary opportunities or scholarship opportunities that are spread across the platform. But then, is there any thought about what can be done to resolve these challenges? Because it appears we have to deal with this for the next few coming years.
Thank you, Sam. We'll continue to stress that government can never do this alone. It takes a village to raise a child. And the African socialism, we always shared what we heard. And so the philanthropic spirit in the African must rise. And equally, collaboration with the non-governmental organization. There are many that are also assisting these needy students. So the word is collaboration. Let's continue to collaborate.
Is there a practical sense of how that works? Because like I said, the voices that have come forward, it has taken philanthropy. Is there a proactive agenda that the government would come up with?
Certainly, the scholarship schemes, the bursaries, and there are bursaries right from, the NGCDF, county governments. So these are direct collaborative efforts.
I don't know, Ziri, if you have a response to that, because, sorry, let me just rephrase it. Yes. The challenge is, it has to take parents to come forward. Does the ministry understand, because you have done means testing for other programs, does the ministry understand?
That is what we want to address. What is happening in the country is that we have parents who are in need. And the parents who are in need, some of them are spoken there, are the parents that the government is supposed to support using the resources that are available. So that those who are able to pay can pay their way, and those who are not able to pay, we give them support in order for us to meet the provisions under Article 53 of the Constitution. Now, what has happened to date is that the very many bursaries, the very many scholarships, the very many support that is in the country has not been harmonized or rationalized. So we've created the chemist system in the education sector, which is going to be the source of truth for everything in education. In this particular chemist digital platform, we are creating a module, and this is going to be the scholarship or support module where anybody who is supporting any child in the country supports that child, and it is indicated in the module so that we can be able to show or to tell who is getting support where, so that such cases are not dropping through the cracks.
Okay.
And therefore, going forward, and this is what I was saying, that after tomorrow, after we get the exit report, we're going to start working in ensuring that these teams are the ones that are actually getting the majority support from government and from government support, including the scholarships that we have. Okay. Because what is happening is, the question is, how come they fell through the cracks when we have all these particular bursaries and programs that we have in government? It is because it is not coordinated, it is not properly digitized, it's not properly harmonized, it's not properly rationalized. Okay. Once we do that, then it becomes easier to ensure that no child will lose their space in school, either high school or in any other institution.
So is there an undertaking when this goes live, that platform you're talking about?
It is already live. In fact, we used one of the modules to do the placement. Now we are moving to the next module, which is that particular. Yeah. But even before then,
it will affect.
But even before then, we are going to have an intervention once we know the numbers after tomorrow to ensure that these teams, these people, these students, these learners from these vulnerable families are in school. And I can assure you, there is an intervention that we're going to.
All right, Waziri, we have so much to talk about tonight on the Great End transition, but also a touch of KCSE results, KCSE 2025. We'll be back shortly after this break.
When I have back pain, I reach for 2 tablets of Panadol Extra. With unique Optizop technology, Panadol Extra provides 3 times more pain-relieving power than standard paracetamol for fast relief.
The Bible says, my king is the king of the Jews. He's the king of Israel. He's the king of righteousness. He's the king of the ages. He's the king of heaven. He's the king of glory. He's the king of kings. And he's the Lord of lords. That's my king. I wonder, do you know him? My king is a sovereign king. No means of measure can define his limitless love. He's enduringly strong. He's entirely sincere. He's eternally steadfast. He's immortally graceful. He's imperially powerful. He's impartially merciful. Do you know him? He's the greatest phenomenon that has ever crossed the horizon of this world. He's God's Son. He's a sinner's Savior. He's the centerpiece of civilization. He's unparalleled. He's unprecedented. He is the loftiest idea in literature. He's the highest personality in philosophy. He's the fundamental doctrine of true theology. He's the only one qualified to be an all-sufficient Savior. I wonder if you know him today. He supplies strength for the weak. He's available for the tempted and the tried. He sympathizes and he saves. He strengthens and sustains. He guards and he guides. He heals the sick. He cleanses the lepers. He forgives sinners. He discharges debtors. He delivers the captive. He defends the feeble. He blesses the young. He serves the unfortunate. He regards the aged. He rewards the diligent. And he beautifies the meek. I wonder if you know him. He's a key to knowledge. He's a wellspring of wisdom. He's a doorway of deliverance. He's a pathway of peace. He's a roadway of righteousness. He's a highway of holiness. He's a gateway of glory. Do you know him? Well, his light is matchless. His goodness is limitless. His mercy is everlasting. His love never changes. His word is enough. His grace is sufficient. His reign is righteous. And his yoke is easy. And his burden is light. I wish I could describe him to you. He's indescribable. He's incomprehensible. He's invincible. He's irresistible. Well, you can't get him out of your mind. You can't get him off of your hand. You can't outlive him, and you can't live without him. Well, the Pharisees couldn't stand him, but they found out they couldn't stop him. Pilate couldn't find any fault in him. Herod couldn't kill him. Death couldn't handle him, and the grave couldn't hold him. Yeah! That's my king. That's my king. The Bible says my king is the king of the Jews. He's a king of Israel. He's a king of righteousness. He's the king of the ages. He's the king of heaven. He's the king of glory. He's the king of kings. And he's the Lord of lords. That's my king. I wonder, do you know him? My king is a sovereign king. No means of measure can define his limitless love. He's enduringly strong. He's entirely sincere. He's eternally steadfast. He's immortally graceful. He's imperially powerful. He's impartially merciful. Do you know him? He's the greatest phenomenon that has ever crossed the horizon of this world. He's God's Son. He's a sinner's Savior. He's the centerpiece of civilization. He's unparalleled. He's unprecedented. He is the loftiest idea in literature. He's the highest personality in philosophy. He's the fundamental doctrine of true theology. He's the only one qualified to be an all-sufficient Savior. I wonder if you know him today. He supplies strength for the weak. He's available.
Placement, but also there are emerging issues, and I'm sure you may have gotten an opportunity to watch the show last night on education from Isiolo, the question of infrastructure. Let's hear what the stakeholders in Isiolo had to say.
Capitation goes with the number of the learners. Sasa namba ya learners ikiwa kidogo sana, capitation pia is the same. Unaona? So kile unatumaniwa, it's not even worth. The whole school tunapata 9,000 kwa account moja. So account yote mbili ya primary tunapata only 18,000. Ndio maana hata stima ndio tumewekewa mpaka hapa, lakini wiring tumeshindwa kufanya.
In STEM we are all offering applied and pure sciences. For the other tracks in that STEM, because of the teachers and also facilities we are not provided for now.
Mvua ikinyesha mchanga hapa hivi ni mbaya sana, hata huwezi kutembea kwa maana inanata, na hata wanafunzi wengi sana takuja kwa shule inakuwa ni shida kwa sababu hawezi kutembea mguu tupu, na baadhi yao ni wanafunzi wazazi ambao hawajiwezi ni watoto wao. Upande wa madarasa hatuna lab na hatuna computer lab.
Hatukuwa na mwalimu wa junior school grade 7, hatukuwa na mwalimu junior school, ni walimu wa primary tu ndio walikuwa wanajikaza tukamaliza that year. Wakati tuliingia grade 8 tukapata walimu wawili, lakini second term moja katolewa. Tulipata changamoto kubwa sana hapo. Za grade 9 hatuna kitabu hata moja, at present hatuna. Ni historia ya kuombaomba tu, na kile unaomba unapewa copy moja in all the subjects.
So that's a reflection of a few of the schools in Isiolo County. We speak to different stakeholders and they say it could get worse if you go to more arid and semi-arid areas. And there was a question that was asked Waziri about what happens to schools that don't receive numbers. We've seen some of them, including Utuneni in Makueni County, that they're saying very few parents are reporting. Some of it is tied to poor performance in KCSE. I don't know, what qualifies a school to be a school if eventually you end up with less than 10 learners reporting?
Well, there's a minimum number of students that you're supposed to have to qualify as a school, but let me start by saying the grade 9 students had a choice of 12 schools. They were to do the best of 3 in C1, best of 3 in C2, best of 3 in C3, and best of 3 in C4. And the system was placing these students in the schools of their choice. In other words, if the students did not choose your school, the system would not place them in your school. So the student selecting them means that no student wanted to go to those schools. On the other side of the coin, we had schools where we had over 50,000 applicants applying for schools whose available vacancies were maybe 700. Now, these numbers and this data is telling us a story. And the story it's telling us is, have we been cropping up, have we been holding up schools that do not need to be surviving, for example? So what is going to happen is, when we finish with the placement and we determine that these schools that do not receive any numbers, remember, we do not have Form 2. So they'll be remaining with only Form 3 and Form 4. You can imagine then what is going to happen in the next 2 years if no student then selects.
Do you know it?
Which then tells us a story. Yeah. What then are we supposed to do? What then it means for us as the ministry is to sit down and make a determination. Should we still continue holding these schools as schools, or should we invest more in the schools that the students require so that they can have all the facilities? In other words, can we mop up or merge the schools so that the schools that are called schools have the facilities that they require? There would be no point to have a school with 10 children where you have a headmaster, you have a classroom, you have a watchman, you have a teacher. It doesn't make sense. So this is telling us that we need to face reality and say we now need to change course and say we need schools that have all the facilities with the right number of students, so that we do not have to be having 10 schools in a place with 1,000 students, where one school is having 100 children.
Is that data available so far based on the placement?
Pardon?
Do you have that data so far? How many schools have received less than 10
data,
students?
that's what I'm talking about, the exit report. We can
Exit
only
report.
have that data once we finish with the 100% transition, and now we know that this school actually is getting no child.
All right. Nimrod, I don't know.
And we're going to make that decision. It's a hard decision.
Yeah.
Kenyans have to look ourselves in the face and make those hard decisions, because we have to ensure that going forward, we have schools that have facilities for our learners that meet the requirement of the Constitution under Article 53. And we are not going to be bullied, so to speak, to have what I normally call patriotic schools, where anybody comes and says, because I have the capacity to build a classroom or a school, let this be be a school called my name or called my late mom or something like that, which is not a school. So we need to agree as Kenyans, and we need the support of all of us, including the parents.
All right, Waziri. I don't know if the TSC would have any thoughts about what that would mean, especially if a school would have to be, should I say, deregistered because they don't have students. What would it mean for the teaching fraternity, teachers posted to those institutions?
Thank you, Sam. On behalf of the CEO, once the ministry has given us the data on the schools that are not having the correct admissions, automatically we will be carrying out the balancing of the teachers to put them in the schools which have the required numbers so that they can be able to continue with the teaching. Thank you.
He's behind you.
Asante sana. Sam, I have a parent here. Alphonse, be very brief.
Thank you, Nimrod. Sam, allow me to... First, my name is Alfonso Wino. I'm a parent in Nairobi and a National Parents Association, serving as a Secretary General. Allow me to be brief, but a devil's advocate, if there's such a word. I think this is the first time we are sitting before the ministry and nobody is talking of capitation. They're just talking of challenges that are coming. Initially, we have been talking of capitations that have not reached schools. But this time, capitation went before our learners. I think that is something positive. And I really applaud you, Waziri, and your team. My only question would be, after transition, because we are talking transition, after transition, there comes now the pathways, where there is social, the arts and sports, and the STEM. At what point do we have a stop? Because that is a question that we've been hearing so much as a leadership of the parents. At what point will a child who went to do STEM and realizes that they can only survive in arts and sports, at what point will there be a stop that now the transition is over, we are going to learning? Thank you, Nimrod.
Do you take that?
Thank you.
Any of you, Waziri or PS, I don't know who wants to take that.
Let me explain it this way. When the students started learning from grade 1 all the way to grade 9, their competencies were being determined as they moved from class to class. That navigation then was done, and you determine what the strength of that child is in terms of what they can do. That is how the pathways, that's how we were placing them in the pathways, depending on what previously through their study they have shown strength in, competencies in, interest in, and stuff like that. And we've seen that from the grade 9, 60%, actually 53% of the students have elected to do STEM, 38% are doing social sciences, and 11% are doing arts and sports. So they are joining grade 10 with that pathway, having gone through the last 9 years in that navigation to show the competencies, what that they have done. And remember, the competency-based education is not an exam-oriented system. It is the whole approach of the student from when they went to school doing projects, doing the interest, showing the interest, and showing the capacities as they moved along. In fact, when they were doing grade 5, 6, and 7, they get 20%, grade 7, 8, and 9, they get 20%, and the summative examination of the last is 60%. So everything that the child has been doing in their study counts. Unlike the previous system, the 844 system, where whatever you did not count. What counts is the result you get in the exam. That's why we are having challenges with parents, for example, saying, my son used to be getting B. How come now he's getting a C or getting a D? Because we are now determining at the end of the term what exactly.
But I think Waziri, so his specific question,
yes, I want to come
was
to
on when do you close the window of changing pathways?
I want to come to that.
Please do.
This transition that we've done, where the students have now joined grade 10, some of the students are able to do both they have the capacity. Their qualifications allow them to do any of those, for example, STEM and social sciences. They can determine. So they can either go on the pathway of STEM or they go on the pathway of social sciences. So this first term, when they are in school, that's when now the career teachers will have the discussions with them. And if there is any child who wants now to change, depending on their clusters, because we cannot change them to go into a cluster that they are not strong on, even if they wanted. We want them to go on the cluster where they are strong, because that's when they'll do well.
And this has been communicated to their teachers?
Yes.
All right.
Career teachers are already in place, and this is happening in this first.
Let's speak to Piers Moria. How are TVETs preparing for these learners? Because we've faced quite some challenges in the transitions, the major transitions to junior school and now to senior school. How are TVETs preparing for CBE learners?
Thank you, Sam. TVETs have been around for a while doing competency-based education and training. And therefore, our curriculum has been there ready for them even before the lower levels pronounced that we are now going competency-based. We were always on competency-based education and training, and since this government came into being, we transitioned even from examining our young people or with NEC and brought back the competence, the Curriculum Development Assessment and Certification Council, which is assessing or which is examining the absolute competencies of the young people. Mm-hmm. So for us, as far as access is concerned, we have the TVET institutions right across the country.
Yeah.
Every county in this country has a TVET institution. And now we are saying, since this government has been in power, we have been polishing our curricula to ensure that we are training the skills. We exited the theory part of training. And so by the time these young people now are getting into this space, the TVETs have been ready. They have been on competency-based education for a while.
What's the current enrollment for TVET?
We are at 874,000, up from 350 when this government came to being.
So you have capacity to take how many per cohort?
By the end of this year, we were actually dreaming to be at 2 million. But because of a few challenges, we are not there. We can have a capacity of up to 3 million, and that is what we are looking forward to be.
The result of how many TVET institutions?
254 now, but we still have around 34 more to come up with.
Okay.
So that we will have now a TVET institution in every constituency. By the time we are able to come up with those institutions in those constituencies, we will even be talking about a capacity of up to 5 million.
5 million, you say?
Yes.
Now, Piers Nyangala, at the same time, the last time we spoke, we were not very clear on where university lecturers were in preparing for CBE. I don't know if you have started, perhaps, even training teachers on CBE, Bachelor of Education.
We were very clear, actually, Sam. I remember saying that we just had a conference where all the teachers, right from basic to TVET to university, met to just discuss how these systems can be integrated, or to just, assess the progress that has been made. I must emphasize that for university, we are already undertaking curriculum reform to enhance those areas that may not have been adequately covered going forward. However, the problem really is the science of teaching and learning, pedagogy. And so universities are already training their lecturers in innovative pedagogy. Depending on how a student is taught, then they acquire those skills. So from talk and chalk, where they just learn to remember, to open book projects and all that, and also mechanisms of examination.
Sorry, you're saying universities are already training their lecturers?
Yes.
Who's doing that?
The universities themselves.
What arrangement?
We have put together a program whereby individual universities are organizing workshops in pedagogy for their lecturers. And this began way back from around 2020. We were already undertaking pedagogical training. There's the Pedagogical Leadership in Africa training, which started off around 2020, and it has been growing and cascading across the universities.
Okay.
Yes.
I don't know, Nimrod. Can you hear from the concerns?
Yes.
From the audience first?
So we have a parent here, Teresia. Tafadhali tumia muda mchache.
Thank you, Nimrod. My name is Teresia, Nairobi parent from Viwandani, and I want to appreciate the ministry for thinking about our children. And also, I want to ask the CS, because umesema for those kids who were placed in cluster 1 and 2, they have a capacity so that they can change to cluster 3 and 4. And my question is, in those cluster 3 and 4, do we have a quality infrastructure or a quality teaching or teachers who can be able to stand with these children? Because from Viwandani, naongea kuhusu the children who have not been able, they are vulnerable, and they are very clever, and they are looking to achieve their dreams. So it is my question that if the government and the well-wishers can stand with these children to go to the schools where they were placed, I believe our nation will be in a better place. Thank you.
Okay, all right. That's more of a comment than a question, but you'll hear reactions.
I think we have one more.
Yeah.
So good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, Ministry, for coming so that we can be able to understand each other. My question is, previous years, there are some schools that did not receive full capitation. And with that, they got some debts. What is the government doing about that? Because now we are about to admit more students, and maybe these debts will continue increasing. What is the government doing about it? Thank you.
All right, maybe we can get an answer, PS.
Okay. For the first question from Teresia on what the government is doing to support C3 and C4 schools, I want to say that the government is investing a lot of money in the infrastructure of our schools across the board, right from C1, C2, C3, C4. And if you look at even the results of the last KCSE, there were more C4 schools who had students who qualified for university than even C3 and C2 schools. There were many in terms of numbers. So I want to say that the government is doing everything possible to ensure that we create a conducive environment. And just as the CS has said, we're trying to look actually at the data of our schools and really consolidate. Of course, the government has created 2 national schools in every county, but that's not enough. We need to build capacity of our C4 schools, our day schools, so that they can be able to support. That is why we are rolling out 1,600 labs around the country. And most of these labs are going to C4 schools. The government has built in the last 2 years 23,000 classrooms. And most of these classrooms also are also across the board, particularly in those C3, C4 schools, and also primary and junior schools. So the government is doing everything possible to ensure that every learner in this country gets equal opportunity to access quality education. Coming back now to capitation, I think the story of capitation this year is changing. For the first time in the history of this country, for over 20 years, the government has paid capitation before schools opened. And I think that is a good story across the board. And majority of the suppliers are happy. We, of course, are aware that in the previous years, there would have been times when capitation was delaying, and sometimes there could be deaths in schools. But we'll have to look at case by case in these issues. We cannot generalize, because each school is faced with different circumstances. So we are looking at these issues case by case. But going forward, through the leadership of the CS, the government is very keen at ensuring that capitation gets to school on time and in full.
All right, and PS, we'll talk about that a little more because there has been concerns about what you just said. We're taking a short break. When we come back, we have more conversations and concerns, especially touching on the KCSE 2025 outcome. We'll also be hearing from NEC. What do they have to say about those results after the break?
Imagine 24/7 monitoring system voltage and frequency to ensure it's no more, no less. Welcome to National Control Center. This is where we control the country's power generation. These screens enable us to see the entire network, the generation and the demand. You have to generate power, transmit it, deliver it to the substations, all the way to the transformer, and finally to you. Pamoja twang'aa.
Sunlight 2-in-1 for burst after burst of long-lasting freshness. Sunlight 2-in-1.
At St. Peter and Ann Medical Center, Ruaka, we believe healthcare is more than treatment. It's trust and unmatched care. Available 24/7 for emergency response and critical care, we are committed to investing in top-tier dental and imaging services. Utilizing advanced ultrasound and X-ray diagnostics guarantees precision at every stage of the process. Our inpatient wards offer comfort, safety, and compassion. Our modern laboratory delivers results you can trust. St. Peter and Ann Medical Center, here when you need us most. Your health is our priority.
Please can I have that and thank you. Yeah.
Ukiwin, beshte yako Angel Loco Shop win too. Hii ni the Cadbury Big Win-Win. Nunua any Cadbury chocolate, including new Cadbury Dairy Milk ya 55, 12, and 6.5 gram. Scan QR code ama utume hai kwa WhatsApp kunominate beshte yako na your local shop. Wewe beshte yako Angel Loco Shop mnaweza stand a chance ya kuwin your share of 3.5 million shillings in prizes and instant airtime with every entry. A win for you is a win for all. T's and C's apply.
Glovo ni ile app ina-connect na your city. Na the crunchiest fried chicken, extra sauce. Na bado iko moto, vile mbogi inadai. Ama na shopping ya wiki, bila get stuck in line, so you enjoy more playtime. Ata na her favorite flowers, so that date night itajipa na mapenzi. With Glovo, you can track your order and also call customer support. Download the app, order Glovo and get anything you want in minutes.
At MKU, we believe education goes beyond the classroom.
This is for the dreamer, the go-getter.
It is about engaging with ideas, questioning assumptions, working collaboratively, and finding creative solutions to the challenges of our time.
Intech is in progress. Mount Kenya University, unlocking infinite possibilities.
Deals
kibao kila wiki na Carrefour. Enjoy Winner vegetable oil 5 liters at 1,099 shillings. Daima milk 500 ml at 45 shillings. 1.2 liter Limo square foot container at 319 shillings. And Skyward 55-inch TV at 39,995 shillings. Deals kibao kila wiki na Carrefour.
Any action that will be taken here must be signed off with the people, because ultimately we can't tell the people to remain.
Tear gas and running battles. Mukuru residents clash with police over demolition of houses to pave way for road expansion.
Ukifika kwa poma lazima tuangalie hii poma ni aina gani, wanajimudu kivipi. Maana kuna wale ambao wako na uvidhuri na ujeuri, lakini kuna wale ambao nao vile vile hawajiwezi.
100% transition. Chiefs conduct door-to-door mop-up as they order parents to take learners to join senior school with extended admission deadline lapsing on Wednesday.
Pipeline, if you need something to be approved, and this is not only pipeline, I mean it's government sector. First you do the SESCO, you take it to the committee of the board, it goes to full board, and then now you write to request your parent ministry to consider it.
Government to receive 103 billion shillings from the sale of Kenya Pipeline Company shares, despite selling 106 billion worth of shares. Police nab bang worth 4 million shillings in shops next to a school in Ahero, Kisumu County.
New term, new goals, hakuna stress. Wazazi wanajua when it's back to school, Naivas always comes through. Everything they need, locked in. Variety, sorted. Prices that save in January, on point. Get up to 50% off on back to school essentials, uniforms, shoes, stationery, mattresses, and more. Start strong, save smart. Give your child a champion start to the school year. Naivas saves you money.
Education is the greatest inheritance a child can receive. That's why the Member of Parliament for Kiharu, Ndindi Nyoro, launched Kiharu Masomo Bora program, making quality day secondary school education affordable for every child. Students pay only 500 shillings per term. 500 and receive lunch. Masomo Bora also support the construction of classrooms, laboratories, textbooks, and learning materials.
No child should be left behind.
Kiharu Masomo Bora by Ndindi Nyoro.
Some dreams don't live in headlines. They live in hands that refuse to stop. Every thread, every try, a quiet hope stitched in. Sometimes it just takes us back. One moment that turns waiting into beginning. Dreams don't fade, they just need a little help to shine. Zenka, the financial spark igniting your dreams.
A comfortable diaper can make a significant difference in your baby's happiness. Choose diapers that are soft to the touch and have stretchy sides to provide a snug but gentle fit.
New Soft Care Space Series is rooted from space technology. Keeps you dry and comfortable for 12 hours long.
Soft Care. Protect your leap.
Welcome Welcome back. You're still watching Elimo Mashinani live from Lavington Primary School with the Ministry of Education Leadership, and also we are joined by two elected leaders of Nairobi. Esther Passaris is the woman representative, and Beatrice Alachi is the member of parliament for Dagoretti North. She's our host here. Now, many questions coming in, and I want to read some of them, then you can take note, you will respond to them. So there's a question, when are grade 10 books going to be supplied? There's another question on funding of new junior schools. How is that about the ministry going about it? What is the position of the CS on funding of co-curricular activities as schools are being asked to remit funds to support the same? The other questions coming in from stakeholders saying, is CBE out to kill sub-county schools, establishing day wing in county and extra county boarding secondary schools? Will it not kill C4 schools? And then many more coming in, especially on the question that we were talking about earlier on about school fees and the policies that the schools are issuing. Since the ministry has heard of it, it should investigate chini ya maji, word for word, without involving parents. When the principals do so in collaboration to share the loot na wakubwa. So they are fearing there might be victimization of parents. As you think about that, I also want us to take a look at the KCSE results of 2025 that were released not long ago. And they're showing some interesting statistics. And I want us to focus on what happened to the schools that scored D+ and below. To start by saying that 48.7% of the class of 2025 scored between E and D+, and sub-counties were leading. These are the day schools. 66% of learners that went to day schools posted D+ or below, and many other statistics. I know, Piers, you're saying that the sub-county schools posted more or sent more students to universities than county schools. Indeed, it is true, because it is, in number, it is 72,000 versus 36,000 in county schools. But when you reflect on the percentage, then it is only 14% of learners that went to sub-county schools that were able to qualify for direct intake into the universities. Perhaps we begin with the CEO, Kenya National Examinations Council, Dr. David Jengere, to help us understand, I don't know whether from the results, you're able to tell what's happening in schools, and especially when you focus on sub-counties, which accommodate majority of the learners at 53%, what exactly are the results telling you of the quality of learning in those schools?
Thank you very much, Sam. Allow me to sit down so that I can make reference to the document I'm holding. From a statistical perspective, I would say that it will not be fair to look at the results at sub-county level without reflecting on the entry behavior of these learners in Form 1. Please remember that learners with 400 marks and above in KCPE all end up in the national schools. The learners who go to sub-county schools mostly have 200 marks and below. And therefore, to expect that at the end of four years, you can have a comparative percentage with national schools, I don't think it's possible. But when you look at the statistics, they tell you that if you are able to get 13% of learners in sub-county schools getting C+ and above, that's an indication that if all factors were held constant, and as the PS and CS have said, we put more resources in those sub-county schools, there is absolutely no reason why a child cannot perform well in those sub-county schools, which are what we are calling now the C4 schools.
Okay, interesting perspective. Let's listen to parents of Raganga secondary schools in Kisii County. They had something to say about KCSE results.
Na hatui chochote, syllabus ya form 1 ijaisha hadi wa sasa, na sasa mtoto ako form 4. Nitafanya namna gani? Nitasaidia huyo mtoto namna gani?
Nilileta watoto wawili. Mwaka jana kijana wangu mkubwa alifanya akapata D plain.
Na saa hii mwaka huu msichana alifanya akapata D plain. Nina uchungu.
Kama shule mzima inaweza pata a mean score of 2.4. Ni kumaanisha hiyo shule hata inafaa ifungwe. Ama namna gani?
It's a command to our Minister of Education. Please, please, please. Let the principal be sacked as soon as possible. Atoke immediately.
Tuko na lisi, mtoto ako na maxi 330. Huyu mtoto anastahili kupata E.
Previous mitihani kama ile watoto walikuwa wanapata 500, ukapata mtoto ako na 180, 200. Actually 180, that is even better. Mimi nimekuwa Raganga, nimeona mtoto ako mpaka max 150. Huyo ndiye mzazi analeta Raganga.
Shida ya hii shule yenye nilikuja nikaangalia, walimu wenyewe hawana bidii kwa sababu nakuta mwaka inaisha hawajamaliza syllabus.
Na atumalize syllabus haraka. Tukanga kama for example umefika form 4, hujamaliza syllabus ya form 1, form 2, form 3. Na bado unafaa kufanya form 4.
Hiyo ni English bado hatuna mwalimu. Wanakuja wakienda. Bado English hata kati kuja shule nyingine hatungefanya kitu.
Kwa kweli mimi kama mzazi naumia moyo sana kwa sababu miaka 4 mzima mtoto kwa shule alafu arudi kama yule ambaye kwenda shule. Hiyo kitu kwa kweli.
All right, it's important to note that there's a student who went to that school with 305 marks out of 500 in KCPE. They scored a D. So there are some questions that we hear, but let's hear first from a student.
Wacha tupate mwanafunzi mmoja amuulize waziri swali.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
My name is Michelle Oching. I'm a grade 9 student from St. George's Comprehensive School. And what I'd really want to know is what assurance that does CBE give me that after my grade 12 examinations, I'll be able to secure a job in the pathway that I chose and studied throughout the 3 years of the school? Because upon looking on the previous curriculum, I'd need connections to secure a job after my school. Thank you.
All right, a very important question. Looking into the future, I think we begin with you, PS. If you want to take that, that's fine. But at the same time, it looks like Raganga School is a case example of what's happening in some of the sub-county schools. I mean, if there's no learning, you can post good results. And the question I would ask you is, if the same student who scored 200 marks was sent to Alliance, will they still score a D?
Okay, Sam, just to begin by answering the question by Michelle, that competence-based education is moving away from traditional KCSE examinations. Competence-based education is about talent, it's about skills, it's about capabilities. That is why we are giving learners an opportunity early enough to choose their pathways, whether STEM, whether social sciences, so that you can be able to focus more. So we are moving away from the traditional ways of looking at education. We are now getting to another different kind of mindset, where we want the learners to get the right skills for the job. So I want to assure Michelle that after your grade 12, we are confident that you will have the right skills, the right attitudes, you will have the right competence to pursue whatever you want, whether you want to go to the university, whether you want to choose to go to a TVET. You should, by grade 12, you'll be prepared enough and much more prepared in terms of skills and competence than when you had gone through the 844 system. So I want to give you assurance and the rest of the students in Kenya that competence-based education is the best education system that this country would ever had. Just also to answer another question on whether a learner of 200 marks, when they are taken to Alliance, would be able to perform better. Chances are that the entry behavior of a child will by and large influence the final outcome of the student. So I want to say that everybody has an equal chance, but the entry behavior has some influence. Depending on how the student comes and behaves and concentrates on their studies, they can perform well. We have seen students who have gone to who have come in with very little marks, but because of change of behavior, they're able to excel. So we cannot condemn a student who has 200 marks if they didn't get a good environment or if they didn't get an opportunity, just like another student who maybe was in an academy. So we can't just be general about it.
Okay.
We have to be very specific to be able to determine whether the learner will.
I thought it reflects on the behavior also of what's happening in school. Are they really learning?
Well, yeah, also, it depends on what they go through also in the school they join and the facilities and many other factors, and even the parents and the environment and many other factors. But you cannot just assume that because you came in with, we have seen students with 200 marks getting A- and even B+ and so on. It's possible.
I want you to have the final word. Let me first hear from the PSS.
I just want to say something about that particular school.
Yeah.
When you aired that clip, I did request for data for that school.
Yep.
And this is what I discovered. Last year, they had 18 students. The previous years, they had 14 students. The previous 5 years. This was the second best result they ever posted. They posted 1.7, 1.4, 1 point something. This was 2.35. 14 students, 18 students, 5 years, no action, nobody has assessed. In fact, it could be a school that should not have been a school, so to speak, so that we could. This is what we are saying. This is what the
minister was not aware all this time, 5 years.
This is what I'm saying, that the data is showing us something. It is telling us something that we need to look at our schools. We need to look at what is coming out.
Right.
Should we have, for 5 years, retained that school in the condition that it was?
All right. Fair enough, Waziri. Now, we're running out of time. But PS, reflecting on that, it would sound that we're actually condemning children by sending them to some of these institutions. And I don't know what capacity you have for the 480,000 plus that's called D+ and below in offering them an opportunity in TVETs.
I think I already said that in TVETs we have enough capacity to accommodate all these young people. In fact, I was having a discussion with my boss here, and what we were agreeing is before these young people even transition to the universities, can we have them all come to the TVETs and we are able to give them 1 or 2 or 3 skills, and this might be their lifeline for the rest of their lives. So we are saying that in the TVETs, we have the curricula, we have the capacity, we have the equipment, maybe not everything, but we have the capacity to be able to give a skill.
There's declared capacity and there's the effective capacity.
Yes.
There must be a difference, no?
We have the capacity, whether we have the effective capacity to be able to skill them. Whether we are talking about engineering, whether we are talking about hospitality, we have the capacity to be able to give the skills. And I wanted to add to what my colleague was saying, and saying that we have already built the capacity of JKUAT, Jomo Kenyatta University, 70 lecturers. Yep. We have already built the capacity to be able to offer competency-based education. Yep. And for Machakos University, we have already trained 80 lecturers to be able to offer this.
All right.
So, we have now lined up another 8 universities to be able to train them on competency-based education. So what we are saying, as far as TVET is concerned, we have been here longer as far as competency-based education is concerned. So we have the capacity to roll it up.
PS, 270,000 qualified to join universities. Are you going to absorb all of them? What is the cost?
Certainly. We are looking at about 90% of those applying for placements from the past tradition and practice, and about 90% also applying for funding. So in total, we will require about 22 billion for scholarships and loans.
22?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Now, time is not on our side, and we may have to close it at this point. So of course, so many questions that have come to us. I'm sure even the few that I read, you've not responded to them, but that's our time. I don't know, Nimrod, what do you have to say?
Sam, bila shaka kwa sababu ya muda tunatoa shukrani kwa washikadau wote walioko hapa ambao wengi wangependa kuuliza maswali lakini kwa sababu ya muda hawawezi kuuliza maswali. Baadhi ambao wamekuwa hapa ni pamoja na Daktari Norman Kiogora kutoka Kise, Daktari Masi Wahome kutoka Kenya Universities Colleges and Central Placement Service, miongoni mwa wengine wengi, vyama vya walimu pia ambao ni NAT na KUPPET pia walikuwa na mahitaji ya maswali, lakini bila shaka tutapata fursa nyingine kama hii kuweza kusemezana nao, lakini kwa sasa Sam, naregesha usukani.
Thank you so much for joining us, Waziri Julius Migos Ogamba, PS Julius Bitok, PS Dr. Beatrice Nyangala, and PS Dr. Esther Moria. Thank you for making time for us. Elimu Mashinani will be back soon in a county near you to talk about matters education in this country. My name is Sam Gituku. See you again some other time.